So, what really makes a prison the worst? It's not just about having a scary name or a bunch of tough guys. It's about how a place is literally designed to break people. And today, we're going to dive into three very different ways, three philosophies really, that create some of the most extreme prisons on the entire planet. A clean version of hell. Just let that sink in for a second. That's a quote from the former warden of America's most secure supermax prison. It's, it's just so chillingly precise, isn't it? It tells you that the worst kind of horror isn't always about dirt and chaos. Sometimes it's about perfectly clean, perfectly engineered, absolute despair. So that brings us back to the big question, what is it that defines the absolute worst? Is it just about violence? Is it all about psychological torment? Well, we're going to break it down into three main ideas. First, the total chaos of a humanitarian crisis. Second, the cold, calculated precision of absolute isolation. And third, the brutal public theater of psychological dominance. Okay, let's start with our first category. This is where the horror isn't some grand design, it's just a complete and utter system breakdown. We're talking about failure on a massive scale, thanks to just too many people. A total failure of basic human dignity. You can see this play out in places like Mendoza Prison in Argentina and the Muhanga facility in Rwanda. At Mendoza, they were cramming in 3 times the number of people they were supposed to, and basic things like sewage systems just completely gave out. But as bad as that was, what happened in Rwanda was on another level entirely. Yeah, over 7,000 people. That's how many inmates were once packed into Rwanda's Muhanga prison, a place originally built for just 400. You can't even wrap your head around that. This wasn't just overcrowding. This was a full-blown humanitarian catastrophe, largely fueled by the aftermath of the 1994 genocide. And the human cost? It's almost unimaginable. At Muhanga, people were forced to stand, barefoot, on filthy ground for so long that their feet literally rotted, and some even had to be amputated. For all those thousands of people, there was just one doctor. About 6 people died every single day. Meanwhile, at Mendoza, things got so desperate that inmates actually sewed their own mouths shut just to protest the conditions. All right, so from the pure chaos of neglect, we're going to shift gears to something completely different, terrifying precision. This is what we're calling the architecture of isolation. This is where the horror isn't a mistake. It's not a bug in the system. It is the system, engineered right into the concrete and the steel. And this brings us to the whole concept of the supermax prison. The ultimate example? ADX Florence in Colorado, also known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies. This place was built from the ground up with one goal in mind, to eliminate almost every single form of human contact for the people inside. So what does a day there actually look like? Well, it's a masterclass in sensory deprivation. You spend 23 hours a day locked in a solid concrete cell. And that 1 hour you get for recreation, you spend it alone, in what's basically an outdoor cage. You see, the point isn't just to stop people from escaping. It's to completely dismantle a person's mind by starving it of any and all human contact. And out of all the details of this place, this might be the one that gets me the most. The window. It's just 4 inches wide and it's angled up at the sky. So an inmate can see a tiny sliver of blue, maybe a cloud, but they can never see the horizon, or another building, or another human being. It's a design meant to erase the world, to make it literally impossible to even know where you are. Okay, our third and final category. This one is all about prisons where the main weapon isn't concrete or isolation, but a systematic, almost ritual-like demonstration of the state's absolute power. This is about psychological dominance, achieved through brutal, enforced submission. Take Russia's Black Dolphin prison. Here, control is a physical ritual. Every single time an inmate leaves their cell, they're blindfolded, cuffed, and forced to walk bent over at the waist in this painful stress position. They call it the Dolphin Pose. It makes it impossible to see where you're going, to learn the prison's layout, or even to see a guard's face. It's just this constant, painful, physical reminder of who is in total control. Now, if Black Dolphin is about dominating the body, North Korea's Champ 14 is about dominating your entire family, your entire lineage. This place isn't just a prison, it's a political weapon. Inmates are worked to death as slave laborers, and torture is just part of the daily routine. But the ultimate tool of control is their policy of 3 generations of punishment. It means that if you're sent there, your entire family is condemned right along with you. So there you have it.
three very different roads to creating one of the world's worst prisons. You've got the chaos of overcrowding, the cold science of isolation, and the raw cruelty of dominance. Let's kind of pull these threads together and see what it all tells us about the very idea of punishment.
Looking at them side by side like this, you can really see how different they are. Mendoza and Muhanga, that's the story of a state that has failed, collapsing into a humanitarian crisis. ADX Florence is the complete opposite. It's a hyper-efficient, highly engineered system of control. And then you have Black Dolphin and Camp 14, where the state isn't failing or just engineering things. It's an active, brutal force of terror that demands nothing less than your total submission. Look, you can't argue that these places are ruthlessly effective at what they do. To this day, no one has ever escaped from ADX Florence. But they only succeed because they've completely thrown out any idea of rehabilitation. And that really raises a huge question for all of us. When the goal of a prison is no longer to change a person, but simply to cage them, to contain them, what part of our own humanity have we lost in the process?